I figured today I could just bring up one of my favorite quotes. It's by Schopenhauer, and he says, "Talent hits the target that no one else can hit, while genius hits the target that no one else can see." What's beautiful for me of this quote is that it establishes that both talent and genius are measurable systems. And if we remember, we used to have these as requirements for those who we would celebrate within art, architecture, creativity, and so on. We required them to be talented. We required them to hopefully be geniuses. And today we're in an era in which brand power seems to somehow establish what is good and what is bad, what should be paid for and what shouldn't. And I think there's a giant error in that, and we need to go back to some form of metrics. Now, when establishing a new form of measuring what is good and bad within the arts, we have to be very careful. Let's remember that thanks to cameras like the one I'm communicating with you now, or the ones that existed 100 years ago, the arts were suddenly freed from their requirement to portray in a very realistic manner that which was happening. Art used to be a form of portrayal of reality. And freed from that requirement, the arts were now capable of portraying that which we felt, that which we dreamt. And we were able to go into a series of other new movements within the arts. The only issue that has as a problematic consequence was that it started to become very, very blurry to differentiate what was good and what was bad. And it paved the perfect platform for a series of sharks to be able to stand in and create enormous brands that could obfuscate the true quality of the work being presented under the banner of a giant celebrated brand by enormous collectors, museums, or institutions. So now, since everything was so confusing and difficult to distinguish in terms of their quality, we were just told that that was great art or that wasn't. So if we can't measure talent as that which very few people could achieve, and genius as that which even fewer people could even possibly see, what are we going to decide on? Should we decide that skill is important? Is creativity important? Is resourcefulness important? How about originality? In an era where there's so much output, shouldn't we at least demand that we try to be original with what we're creating? Whichever system of measurements we establish, we need to establish one to be able to create an artwork and an art world in which we can continue to advance like many other fields advance. Now, personally, I think everything is measurable. And it's an idea that a lot of friends in the arts hate. They hate the idea that if there is a measuring system, it means that there could be a system that could be a dictatorship that establishes what can and cannot be considered good. And I agree with them. We should never have a dictatorial system of any kind. But unless we're capable of agreeing on a few things that should be considered good, that should be considered base requirements, how are we going to evolve together within these fields? We need to go back to competence. We need to go back to competing. We need to go back to a world in which art, design, creativity have some resemblance to science, in which we can evolve together, in which as a generation it is not just about what I create that is satisfying to me, but also what I can contribute to the world that maybe hasn't been done before, that maybe is based on what previous creators made and brings the conversation a step further. Art that is not only about myself, but art that is advancing our generational, our human approach and understanding to what this medium is. Because at the end of the day, art does not exist in a vacuum. It functions within the same world in which the sciences function, and as such, it is prone to measurements. We still don't have the tools to measure art, but we will someday. And we might as well start functioning now, as if one day there will be tools to hold us accountable and check if what we were doing was actually worthwhile or not. So, again, back to Schopenhauer. Talent hits a target that no one else can hit. Genius hits the target that no one else can see. Let's move towards trying to hit those targets. Let's move towards discovering those targets that are hidden. Giant hug. Hope you have an amazing weekend.